Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
You are listening to the Susan Brender Radio Show. I am co-host Deidre Riegel. Susan is on assignment this week, and with me today I have the lovely Barbara Gale, who's joining us from Austin, Texas. Barbara, welcome to the Susan Brender Show.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I am so delighted you are. I'd like to take a moment and give the audience just a little quick view of who you are and what you do. You are a woman who has come through so many changes in your life, as so many of us women have. You came through a marriage, a 20-year-plus career as an advertising design professional, and you found yourself needing to transition into a life empowerment mentor. And, of course, I'm going to be asking you to tell us about that today and how you particularly go about that. And you spent a lot of time studying with some of the best in your field. So I'm very excited to ask you questions and very eager for you to share your expertise with our audience, because I know that there are many people who need what you have to offer and who will greatly benefit by what you have to say to us today. So that said, Barbara, you live in Austin, Texas. Tell us a little bit about what led you into doing what you do now, which is analyzing the fingerprints of people's hands. So how did you get there to begin with?
Oh, thank you so much for the question. It's kind of going back in time, but about 10 years ago, I was going through a transition that was just a time of restlessness and searching for my meaning, because I didn't have it in my life. And I was always a person who needed to know how things worked and how to make sense of the difficulties that I was having in my own relationships. And I had a history of just a terrible self-esteem and confidence, no confidence growing up, and totally chose disempowering relationships one after another. And long story short, I ended a 28-year marriage and raising my son, and was faced with I have to make a change and started over by just deeply immersing myself in a study of self-development. And relationships were the heart of it, and learning just how do I love myself? What do we mean when we say we have to love ourselves, and really what does that mean and how do I do it? To really in search of healing my own self-esteem issues. And it turns out that to help others, we have to empower our own, transcend our own healing journey to really become empowered expert for others. And so my life was kind of in transition when I ran into and discovered hand analysis by having a wonderful, insightful reading. It was rather life-changing for me. And I learned more about myself in 2-hour reading and analysis of my hands than I did in 4 years of therapy.
Wow.
And it was profound, and I went, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for. This is a tool I need to learn how to use because I want to help others in this way. And my mentor showed me that the transition that I was in was turning me from where I was and adapting this other aspects of myself, which was that I was a sensitive and that I was a very curious, analytical teacher and counselor, and that I had real deep empathy for empowering others, and that what was really scary about it was she said, and you're needing to do this on a worldly stage. And bingo, I felt my heart jump into my throat, and I went, oh my God, you're right. My purpose, my direction, oh my God. And it felt very perfectly exhilarating, at the same time really scary, because I was like, yeah, I am supposed to be doing this on a much bigger stage than I am equipped to handle with my self-esteem issues. So it was really cause to really grow. And it just hits home in some unexplainable truth kind of way. So I just had to learn this tool. And so I started studying hands over 10 years ago, working with the system that I learned with Richard Unger's International Institute of Hand Analysis.
Well, you've studied with 5 master teachers, and of course Richard Unger has been one of them. So as I said, you've studied with the best of the best. Let me just backtrack for our audience's sake. You used a phrase just a moment ago. You said it really hit home. And I think in my own perception of the world, am seeing so many of us, especially us women, are coming into our own sense of empowerment, and it means we have to go home within ourselves and discover who we really are and love that we really are, and in that process uncover. And it seems that it's what I call the antithesis theory. Whatever we have chosen as a challenge that has kept us withheld or put down is the very thing that will help us shine our light and lead us to helping others solve the same issues that we have resolved for ourselves. And then those are the people that we attract in our lives to help, and who in turn, I believe, help us maintain our steady course. So in your instance, it's been hand analysis. Now, I have been a client of yours, and I know what your expertise can do for a person. I'm an absolute witness to it. But many of our listeners are not. So I would love for you to tell what hand analysis exactly is.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. Well, for the short answer is it's a scientific map to our success, and it is based in science. It's a powerful modality that is very innovative and thoroughly researched, and it is a non-predictive system of decoding what our hands really reveal about us. And it's a blend of the art of ancient palmistry and the science of what we know from the fingerprints. And they've been studied for millennia, but those issues and all that we have learned through the science of studying them has come through now in this modality of really blending these two things. So it's a very interesting reveal of a map within our own biology that reveals our unique gifts, our talents, our soul expression, if you will. And what I look at here is the personality aspects, which is what's traditional palmistry. It reveals our character and our personality. But then there's another part, which is the fingerprint pattern, which shows us archetypal patterns because it shows up on different fingers. Each of our fingers has meaning. And I don't know that I knew before I studied that, but our fingerprints are embedded before we are born. And they stay the same our entire life. However, the lines in our hands change. So we have two parts of the same map working together to bring us into what I call our soul's expression. And
so may I just interject a moment, Barbara? So the fingerprints stay the same throughout our life, but the actual hand itself, those indentions, if you will, change. And would I assume correctly that the fingerprints are just that's what we've come into the world with, and then as we go through life and we evolve, the lines in the actual hands themselves change as we go through life? Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, it is.
Tell us more. Tell us more, please.
Well, it's very interesting because each one of our fingers has meaning, and each one of those fingers has a meaning when it is a part of our expression. It has an archetypal journey. And a skill set that we're learning how to embody. So for me, it was a Jupiter finger or first index finger about empowerment. Well, I really had to experience the full gamut, range of experiences of feelings, of feeling overwhelmed, powerless, and helpless is the bottom range, but when we turn it around and really move through the growth and the healing of it, we turn into someone who is greatly empowered, but we know now how to use that power in a very graceful, loving way, and not to use it to empower ourselves to hurt anyone, because we know what that feels like. So it's a turnaround. And your point earlier is well taken, because absolutely agree that what I have found in my work is that everything that we go through brings us in perfect alignment to serve and help those who are also needing those very same skills and assistance. So they become
those
who are really open to what we have to offer, if you will.
It seems to feel very reassuring, grow ourselves and to help each other become the best that we can be according to whatever our soul purpose is in life. So, Barbara, we've been talking about the purpose that we feel in our lives as a soul and staying on track and feeling that nudge from life if we're not on track, and how sometimes that can be graceful or ungraceful. So what's at stake when we're not living our purpose?
Well, thank you for the question. It's a matter of we will feel a sense of uncertainty and anxiety, and we're really not fulfilling our fullness, our full gifts, and so it will feel like we're stagnant. It can be a feeling of not doing enough or not expressing enough, or that we're missing something, and it can be a very uncomfortable feeling of being lost without a direction. And I meet many people who are actually in a crisis of, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't seem to figure out I know I want to be over here, but I'm doing this, and I don't know how to make that transition. And even if it's right for me to make that transition. And so they have a very sense of a crisis, and it is a crisis of meaning, as I call it, that we're looking for our rightness, our being in the right place. And I feel that this is our inner compass pulling us into a more meaningful life. And as we are living that life path to express our real true gifts, and it feels like our life is infused with meaning, and we feel energized in just a sense of ourselves that is more grounded in ourselves. And it's like a feeling, if you can, of like Ray Charles had to sing. And, for example, Jacques Cousteau had to explore the oceans. It's like the rightness of your calling, and it fits you.
Yes. I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, that's complete. Thank you.
I'm smiling, Barbara, as you're saying this, because when you talk about feeling in alignment with your soul's purpose and your life, and everything is clear and wonderful, it feels so beautiful and so serene, so exhilarating. And isn't this where we all want to be? And isn't it extremely painful, or at least uncomfortable, when we're not feeling that exhilaration, that peace, that sense of purpose and firm guidance? And isn't it brilliant of our souls to rub us the wrong way, kind of, so to speak, and remind us we're not, we're make discomforted, we're not in our right place? Isn't that brilliant?
Right. I really see it as kind of like the sand and the pearl. It's that grit that pulls us into a sense of tension that makes us want to resolve it. It's an uncomfortable place, that we have to resolve it. So it is our soul's way of helping us, nudge us into a direction that is what we're ready for now, if you will.
Exactly. Well, you talk in your bio about, and I'm going to quote from your bio, Barbara's goal is to demystify who you truly are so you can discover your path for success in all areas of life, especially self-love and compassion. So you've told us a brief overview of the story of your life and what you went through to get to the other side of it where you can help others. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you demystify the clues for your clients?
Oh, wonderful. Well, for an example, the things that we can learn about ourselves are, I find most of us are stuck in different aspects of our personality and what we've given ourselves as a role to advance ourselves. And one of the foundational pieces, for an example, is our struggle to advance our emotional self. And I break our emotional self down into 4 different archetypes. And it's so interesting that when we understand these different archetypes, we can understand ourselves so much better. But I feel that this aspect of ourselves, we have to become consciously aware of to really become an advanced version of ourselves, to feel successful in all areas of our lives, including our relationships with our friends, our family, and really all relationships and how we work with the world. But I look at the foundations of our personality aspects versus the things that our fingerprints are telling us. And so I map out, in answer to your question, the mapping and charting of, okay, here are the pieces that you're working on. Here's the personality aspects of that. And here's what your archetype is asking you to fulfill and grow into. So where are you in this picture? And when we're stuck, the hands absolutely show me the map out of the stuckness. And so understanding the archetypes helps me help you understand how to shift and change it. So to finish what I was saying about the emotional self, I break the what I call the love line into 4 archetypal patterns, and 2 of them express themselves very easily. And 2 of them are very reluctant to express themselves. And we all know people like these. And once you kind of understand the archetypal pattern, you can name, oh, yes, my brother's this, my mother's that, my father's this, because we have a recognition of these archetypes, and they're so different than ourselves. So for an example, if we want to help our listeners understand this, the emotional line is our uppermost line in our hand, and it starts under the pinky finger, and it moves across the hand towards the thumb. And I look at where it ends. Now, if it ends very close to the top of the hand and your first finger, or maybe even touches the base of the first finger, you will probably recognize that you express yourself very easily with others. You can express yourself as an affectionate person, and if it's underneath that base of that first finger, which is the one I see most of, I see more numbers of people with this archetype than others.
I'm one of them. I'm looking at my hand right.
Yes, and so you can recognize that you express yourself as a nurturer of others. You want to nurture and take care of everyone else, and we often do this at our own expense. We don't paint ourselves in that nurturing picture. So it's a lifelong journey of learning how do I balance how much I can give to myself and still have, or actually give to others and still have something left to give for myself. So it's a soul's journey, right? And this is at the heart of it. And every one of the archetypes has a similar learning curve, that a skill set that we're learning how to work with our lives. And so it's very interesting. I see more of like yours, which I call a water heart line, and I see a lot of earth heart lines, which has got a very similar thing. But that is one that expresses themselves very reluctantly. And the water, it's very interesting that we attract an earth. And so we attract our polar opposites in our love life because we're learning something from each other.
Oh, and isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want, to love and to learn and to grow? Isn't that what we, all of us on the planet, want? Barbara, what's the most surprising thing you find in the hands?
Well, it's so interesting that we set ourselves up to have a paradox. You know, we have a paradox in every hand. And what I mean by that is that it's just my goal to find the weakness that we have set ourselves up with to really have the experience to, well, it's like a weakness that we have come in to conquer, and we have to find power over that, to turn it into our strength. We have to see that weakness as a perception of seeing it as a weakness, and we shift that into our, this is a skill I'm learning to acquire. And when we embrace it and start looking at the gifts that it has for us, and grow towards the skill set that it's giving us, it enriches our lives in a way that it's really kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like the magic key to the treasure chest. When you start working on your soul's lessons that you said, hey, I'm going to come in feeling unworthy, unloved, and self-esteem issues, I'm going to turn that perception of myself around into my greatest strengths. Well, when I work with your patterns, I can spell it out for you. This is what your soul's capacity is and what your expression of your soul wants you to turn this around into your gift. So I help a person look at that. But the surprising part of that is that I find fascinating that we stack the deck against our highest calling so that we have to grow into it.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant how we challenge ourselves to make the choice to either be a victim of ourselves or to be victorious with ourselves. And this is huge for us, as I said before, in our generation, and especially this time in the planet. So, Barbara, you live in Austin, Texas. I live in Florida, and here we are via technology being able to talk on the phone and record this wonderful conversation for our listeners. So how do you then work with people long distance if they're not coming to see you in person? As you work in the Austin area, how would you work with somebody who lives in Washington State or lives in Australia? How would you work with them from great distance?
Yes, wonderful question. Thank you. We have a wonderful little kit that I send out for a person to print their hands, and it has a printing sheet in it. So you actually have instructions on how to print your hands so that I can have a very clear document that shows me what your fingerprints are showing me, and all the lines in your hands, the shape of your hand, are very clear with this printing. It's actually made from a print, those who do our fingerprints, legally. The government works with our fingerprints. It's the same system. So I send that out to you and have you print your hands so that I can study it. And it's very easy. And it's fun, actually, to print it. It's an experience most of us have never had before, so it's fun to do.
And I'm here to say this, yes.
Oh, cool. And you've been through that.
Yes.
Also, I have been known to take calls with someone in a crisis and say, hey, just send me a picture of your hand. Let me take a break. Take a picture of your hands and send that to me. Let me see your heart line. Let me see the shape of your hand. Send that to me, and then we'll resume the call. Because in that a little bit of information, I know so much of your personality and what you set yourself up for, that I can become the solver of the problems very instantly. So,
Barbara, how do people reach you?
whoa, wonderful. Thank you. I am very available by phone, email, and or you can learn more about me from my website, which is awakenyourfire.com. You can reach my email. I would love for you to contact me to learn more. And if you can reach me at Barbara@awakenyourfire.com. You could also call me at 512-961-2594. And I invite you also to become a friend on Facebook, because I do offer some mentorship and information on my Facebook that gives you a taste of who I am, and that is at Barbara Gale Divine Purpose Mentor on Facebook.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. For our listeners, I'm here to tell you Barbara Gale is brilliant at what she does. Every minute that you spend with her, everything you invest in spending time with her will pay enormous dividends in your life as we all journey through this wonderful place we call planet Earth, uncovering who we really are and falling in love with ourselves at yet new levels. So, Barbara, you are such an important part of creating goodness on our planet. I salute you as a human being, as a woman, and as a mentor who has great gifts to offer the people who are drawn to you for your expert help. I thank you so much for joining us today on the Susan Brender Show. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Barbara Gale, who lives in Austin, Texas, and who is a mentor using the fingerprints and the hands, the map of the hands, to help empower people of all walks and ages of life. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us. Take care of you, and ladies and gentlemen who've been listening, I wish you a wonderful time in your own life. And the Susan Brender Show with Deidre Regal, co-host. Take care, everyone. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.